Hi everyone, I'm JD from Willow Journals. I am working in my reading journal again today, and the book I am documenting is called Boy Swallows Universe by Trent Delton. And I read this as a library book, and I read it because a friend, she was reading it in her sort of book club and she was enjoying it. I also have heard about this book. I've seen it on those, bestseller lists or the best reads of the year type lists, and I'm always looking at those just to extend my reading and broaden my reading horizons. I like to read different genres, and I like reading, the best books, because even if it's not a genre that I'm into, or maybe not a story that I particularly enjoy, at least I'm reading something that is of value, that might add something to my knowledge bank about writing, about the literary world, and I just like taking in good writing, quality stories, good books, that type of thing. So yeah, I thought I'd give it a go, and it is a very unique story. I've never read anything quite like it before. So it's a very different book to what I'm used to, what I usually enjoy. It's very, very detailed, and that is one thing that's quite, right from the start, it's about the details. It talks about the details, and it also writes with a lot of detail, so it's a bit meta. And I appreciate that. As a writer, we're about, showing, not telling, and focusing on details. And I was, captured by that, and that was quite interesting. That part did draw me in. It had a very interesting use of language. I wrote down sort of one example. This guy freezes ice cubes by staring at them. And that's just a different way of wording things. I would never come up with that wording myself. And there was countless examples of that type of wording, just a different way of wording things, which makes you stop and pause and makes you see things differently. When language can make you slow down and see with different eyes something that you've always seen anyway, but to see it with new eyes, that's what language and that's what writing and books can do. So yeah, this book, it did sort of draw me in that way, through just how different it was and how detailed and how interesting it was in this very unique way. And it seemed to promise a lot, and there were quite large sections that I did enjoy, where I was reading pages and pages and I was totally in it. But I don't know, overall, it's just not my type of book, is what I essentially come down to with this. I can see why it would be on this list of, best books. But when I saw the sticker on the front that said something about an award for literary fiction, that's when the penny dropped, so to speak, for me. I'm not a huge fan of literary fiction. If that's your thing, then this book you'd probably really enjoy. I'm not a huge fan of the genre. When I studied a Master of Writing in Literature, there was quite a lot of literary fiction that we had to read, and that's when I learned I do not like this genre. I can appreciate it though, and there was one short story in particular called Cathedral by, I think it's Raymond Carver, and that was maybe the only, or at least the first story of literary fiction that made me go, wow, I get what this is about now. It's a slow burn, basically. It's the whole time you're like, oh my gosh, I'm wasting my time, this is so boring, I'm bogged down in detail, this is just so boring. And then at the end, everything came together and everything changed, and I was like, oh my gosh, I get it now. I get what literary fiction can do. And that story, Cathedral, I love it. I really love it. But the whole time, for 90% of it, I was not enjoying it at all. And that's how I find most literary fiction, is I'm not enjoying it. And mostly with literary fiction, I find that 100% of the time I'm not enjoying it. So this book, it's just not my style. It's not my thing. It's it's a slow read. It's one that you take your time, and it makes you pay attention to things. And in terms of decorating, let me just go to that for a second. I've put on a piece of washi tape at the top of the page and the bottom to do with constellations and the moon. I included this moon post-it note thingy that I got from Stationery Pal. In fact, all of the things I used to decorate this page came from Stationery Pal. And I love that I had a moon because that ties in with a significant part of the story about a moon pool. It's a bit of a mystery. And I quite liked the characters, the main character and his brother August. I quite enjoyed them. And even, another character, main character, I enjoyed the characters. I don't know, it's just, the story promised a lot, and I thought it would have this wonderful ending like Raymond Carver's Cathedral had a wonderful ending, and I was like waiting for it, but for me, the ending did nothing for me in the end. And so I kind of was let down by that, because, when you're reading such a slow burn book, you're hoping that's going to end with some sort of bang or some sort of thing that puts everything into perspective, but it didn't quite do that. It ended up sort of being this mystery action thriller at the end, surprisingly, and that's not where I thought this was going, but it did have a resolution. It did have, a nice, neat, wrapped up story sort of thing at the end. There were a little bit of mysteries there as well. I don't know, it had a lot going for it, and I appreciated it, but at the end of the day, not my type of book. I would be happy not to read these types of books in my life. But, I'm glad to read and broaden my horizons and see what's out there. But I would probably just, steer clear of literary fiction if I can for the rest of my life. And happy to bypass these types of books. But it was a likable characters. It was a very rich, detailed world. Very, very unique. I enjoyed the use of language. A lot of the reading of the story had me going, it had me in it. I was just a bit let down by the ending. It wasn't some mind-blowing ending like I thought it would be. And that's okay. Maybe because I set myself up for that expectation, I was let down. But if you don't go in with that expectation and you just have like a more calming, peaceful, I don't know, because the ending did have, it made you want to read it. Like everything came to a head at the end, and it was like, oh my gosh, you need to find out what happens. But after that, it didn't have this mind-blowing ending for me, because the things got revealed before that. Anyway, so very interesting, very unique book. And with all my reviews, like not reviews, they're just my thoughts and my journaling thoughts. I always want to give credit where it's due. Authors do a great job writing, and we've gone to black screen, but just quickly to note that with everything that I'm sharing on my channel with books, to give credit where it's due to the writers who put in this effort and can, who write a book that's amazing. So even if I don't enjoy it personally, I don't want to take away from the amazing work that writers do. So, and maybe you will enjoy it, and other people do enjoy the books that I don't enjoy. So don't just dismiss books, and I won't dismiss books just because I don't like them, because writers do an amazing job, and let's appreciate that for that. Okay guys, I'll see you in the next video. Bye guys.